I'm going to do this record prediction segment on Penn State a little differently than I've done my previous ones. I am going to tell you straight up that Penn State is going to win the national championship. And I'm going to tell you why through the lens of 2024. Penn State finished 13-3, 8-1, tied for second in the Big Ten. And they lost all of their big games, except for, I would classify SMU as a big game. Not the top 5 win you need to win it all, but it was a win of top 15, top 10 caliber. And they dominated SMU, so that was a good win. But they lost all their top 5 games, like usual. Choked to Notre Dame, should have dominated them, but choked, and that's a credit to Freeman for, I think, having the better game, and in that moment, the better culture. They lost to Oregon because their defense couldn't stop molasses in winter, and they lost to Ohio State because they were like a baby playing with food, and they didn't give Tyler Warren the ball inside the 5. And meanwhile, Ohio State, I think, in that game, schemed up both sides of the ball like they did in the playoffs. They just did it against Penn State much earlier before the playoffs even began. They lost in the semifinals to Notre Dame. It was a season that was bittersweet. You won 13 games. You almost beat Oregon, the number 1 team. You played in Indy, and you went 11-1. First season ever in which James Franklin won 11 regular season games and more than 11 games overall. Won 12, earned the 13th in the Fiesta Bowl against Boise State. But it was bitter in the sense that you lost to 3 teams in Ohio State, Oregon, and Notre Dame who maybe under a different head coach, or if you re-simmed the games, Penn State wins maybe 1 or 2 of them. Or if they have 2023 Iowa-level luck in close games, who Penn State beat 31-0, maybe they win all 3 of them, and then they win it all last year. But that didn't happen. That's not reality here. So let me wake you up from reality, but also tell you what I think reality will ultimately be in 2025. Penn State is the best team in America. Before we resume this segment, please take a few seconds of your time to make sure you have liked the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell for the channel and for any team podcasts and playlists linked in the description, and also comment your thoughts down below in the comment section and join my Discord server via the description. All of those things I just asked you to do are completely free, and they sign you up for things related to my channel, or they don't sign you up for anything. No cost to you. And all the benefit to you because we release daily college football content here on College Football with Sam. If you want to support the channel monetarily, sign up for a YouTube membership, or check any other links in the description for my merchandise store and Patreon page. Thank you very much, and let's get back to the segment. It's either them or Clemson to start off the year. As the year evolves, I can see a world where maybe Texas, maybe Ohio State, maybe Georgia get better than them. But those are maybes. And I think some of those scenarios require a lot of things going wrong for Penn State and a lot of things going right for those other programs. So I don't think it's likely. I lean positive everywhere. The one statistic where I lean negative with Penn State, the one, is that in Franklin's career since 2014, they have 3 wins versus the FPI top 10. One of them came during the regular season. Or maybe 2. You got Ohio State in 16. I forget if Wisconsin in 16 was top 10 in FPI or not. And then in 17, they beat Washington in the postseason, top 10 FPI team. In 2022, they beat Utah in the postseason, top 10 FPI team. That's where I lean negative, is James Franklin, this guy, this man, who is regarded by me as a top 20, top 15 head coach, by many others as a top 10 head coach. He cannot, for the life of him, punch above his weight class. I don't get it. But the good news with Penn State is that this year, no one may be above them in weight class. When you factor in development and experience, of course, they're not the most talented roster by high school recruiting rankings, but that's just a piece of the pie. They might be the best team overall in America. And if they are, then given Franklin's track record against the lesser teams, his game management may not have to improve and they still win it all. I have Drew Allar as the best overall quarterback in the Big Ten. Singleton is the best overall running back in the Big Ten. I also have Kaytron Allen on my All-Big Ten team at running back. Nick Dawkins is on my All-Big Ten team. Vega Ioane at guard is on my All-Big Ten team, is the best guard in the Big Ten. And I also have Cooper Cousins and Jevin Williams mentioned. I have Nolan Rucci, Anthony Dunco, and Drew Shelton on my All-Big Ten team at tackle. They got Kyron Hudson in the portal, Devontae Ross and Trevor Pena. I have all of them from the portal on my All-Big Ten teams. Khalil Dinkins and Luke Reynolds also represented there. I have Zane Durant as the best D tackle in the Big Ten. And in addition to him, I have Xavier Gillum, Ty Blanding, Alonzo Ford Jr., and Caleb Artis on my All-Big Ten teams. I trust a lot of Penn State staff, so that's why I think some of these unknown players are going to take steps forward, especially with Kotelnicki being in his second year. And I think that Jim Knowles in year one is a massive upgrade over Tom Allen. Tom Allen's a good DC. Just think Knowles is the best. Dani Dennis-Sutton and Zariah Fisher are mentioned at edge on my All-Big Ten team. Same with Tony Roas, Dominic DeLuca, Keon Wiley, and Amari Campbell at linebacker. I love Zakee Wheatley and Dejon Lane at safety. I have A.J. Harris as the best corner in the Big Ten, and Elliott Washington, nickelback, don't know why I said that, nickelback Zion Tracy mentioned, and backup corner Davion Collins mentioned. And Penn State has some special teamers mentioned, too, on my All-Big Ten team. I'm positive everywhere on this team in regards to roster. The question's Franklin, and also how much do other programs that have more recruiting talent, how do they do? What goes right for them? Because if everything goes right for Texas, they have a higher ceiling than Penn State, and now Penn State has to punch above their weight class. If everything goes right for Ohio State, it's the same thing. To a lesser degree for Georgia, Alabama, and Oregon. I think this team at worst is going 10-2. I think they could lose Drew Allar and potentially go 10-2 still. Now, if they lose him, they're not beating Ohio State, and they're probably not beating Oregon, because from Allar to the backup, who I believe is Ethan Grunkemeyer, that's a huge drop-off, but maybe I'm underestimating him. But this team's floor, the Nittany Lions have the highest floor in America, and they have one of the highest ceilings in America, I think, when you introduce realism. If you don't introduce realism, there are probably 5 teams that have a higher floor than Penn State. Maybe 6, maybe even more than that. You introduced realism, though. You accept the reality that they return 65% of their production, and their preseason SP Plus rating is a 27.7, and they're top 5 in preseason FPI, even with a talent deficit. Realism tells you they probably have a top 3, top 2 realistic ceiling in football. Maybe it's number 1. They are minus 250 to reach the playoffs, and I honestly think it should be higher than that, and they're plus 230 to win the Big Ten, only behind Ohio State. They also have an easy non-conference schedule. They open up week 1 against Nevada. Week 2, they host FIU. Week 3, they host Villanova. They get a bye in week 4 before hosting Oregon in week 5 for the whiteout. Finally playing a big-time opponent in the whiteout. That's helpful to Penn State. They travel to UCLA in week 6, host Northwestern week 7, play at Iowa week 8. They get a bye in week 9 before traveling to Ohio State in week 10, hosting Indiana week 11. That's a trap game. Michigan State on the road week 12 could be a trap game, but I think Penn State's much better than Michigan State roster-wise and most positions staff-wise. They host Nebraska week 13, and then they finish off the year against Rutgers in week 14. I love Penn State in this spot. I love how they match up with their schedule. I love what they bring back. I love their developmental track record. I love the upgrades they made at coaching. I'm telling you, Knowles is the best of the best, and there's a world where it takes a little bit longer to implement his defense than Penn State wants, and yes, that could happen. But to those who say it will take 3 years for him to implement his defense, you have to understand that Day in 2021 was basically Lincoln Riley, and he was running almost an Alex Grinch level bad defense. Knowles inherited that. In the year following, it was a top 25 unit immediately. The year after that, so 2 years after he inherits the unit, the only defense that's better than it is a generational 2023 Michigan defense led by now NFL DC Jesse Minter, and a developmental staff that was one of the best I've ever seen on that side of the ball. And then in 2024, well, number 1 defense in America. Absolutely number 1. And that's an honor because Texas's defense was pretty damn good in 2024. So that guy's a wizard. Kotelnicki is a wizard. The only DC who's prevented Kotelnicki from scoring a touchdown in his defense is Jim Knowles. And Jim Knowles has played against Kotelnicki, not just once in the Big 12, but also once last year, and he owned them. So now two of the best minds, Knowles being much better than Kotelnicki, but still Kotelnicki's one of the best OCs, they get to collaborate. And that's going to mean a lot, especially when you have staffers under them that Penn State has retained and given raises. And Penn State also went out in the portal and they got Trevor Pena and they paid him over $1 million. And they paid Allar and Singleton and Allen and Dani Dennis-Sutton and others to make their return. This team's gearing up for a huge, massive national championship season. So Penn State's gearing up for right now. My prediction for them is 13-0 regular season. So that's a bold pick. No team's favored to go undefeated. Even in the older era, where it was easier to build super teams and schedules were easier because you didn't have super conferences. Penn State, I think, is going undefeated regular season. They're going to be first in the Big Ten. They'll be the Big Ten champion. They're going to match up with Michigan, who's my bold pick to reach Indy. Not because I think Michigan's the second best team in the Big Ten. I think they're fifth or even sixth there, but the schedule lines up for them. And I think they're going to look, they're going to get to Indy. And people are going to think if Michigan goes there, or really if anyone except for maybe Ohio State or Oregon reaches Indy, they're going to think, oh, well, it's James Franklin in a big game. And then bomb. And Penn State will beat whoever that team is by 20-plus points. This is a really dangerous team with a floor that is higher than 2024 Ohio State, with a floor that is higher than 2022 Georgia. Don't know if the floor is higher than 21 Georgia or 23 Michigan, but its ceiling's higher than 23 Michigan as well. It just is. They have better receivers, a quarterback who's viewed as a better NFL prospect than Allar. Knowles is better than Minter. Kotelnicki's better than Sharon Moore. And Penn State's also recruited a little bit better than that Michigan team did. So absolute ceiling, yes, this Penn State team is a higher absolute ceiling than 2023 Michigan does. That's insane. And maybe I am too high on Penn State, but I'm not a Penn State fan, and you all know me as a pretty objective guy. Doesn't mean I get things right. I get a lot wrong, also get a lot right. This Penn State team reminds me of the past Ohio State and the past Michigan teams. It does. You know, ever since 2023, Ohio State and Michigan have fielded national championship caliber. Actually, going back since 2022 and excluding 2024 from Michigan, because that team was never going to win it all, even if McCarthy and Harbaugh came back. Ohio State and Michigan have fielded national championship teams more often than not. This Penn State team fits the mold and fits the build that they did. Now we'll get into some of my additional predictions for Penn State here, and this ties in with what I was saying. My prediction that I think is mild, and that I think many others think is mild, is that with Jim Knowles, Penn State will field the top 3 defense in college football. I reserved it from top 2 and from number 1 because Texas right now preseason should be the favorite to have the number 1 defense. Alabama brings back a lot. Georgia recruits and develops well on defense. They've had a few down years there, so regressing to the mean says Georgia's defense should be better than it was last year. Ohio State's super talented. After all, Knowles built that unit up, and I think Patricia's going to be good. Michigan returns a lot, and Martindale seemingly figured some stuff out last year. So Penn State's defense probably is not guaranteed to be number 1, but I think top 3 for sure they'll field the top 3 defense. In terms of a medium pick, going up in terms of hotness on the Scoville scale, Drew Allar goes round 1, pick 1 in the 2026 NFL Draft. This means he has a good year. This means he progresses as a player. This means he doesn't get hurt. And it means that he is able to run Kotelnicki's offense to perfection. It's medium. There's some boldness to it, but there's already mock drafts predicting him to go round 1, pick 1. So I don't think it's super bold. Going up on the boldness scale, I have a hot prediction. Penn State's wide receiver core will be their best since the 2021 season when they had Jahad Dotson. It'll be better than 2022 and better than 23 and 24 by a mile. Just look at Trevor Pena nearly getting 1,000 yards at Syracuse, Devontae Ross getting 1,000 with Troy. Hudson got 300 yards and made some awesome catches behind Jacoby Lane and behind Mekhi Lemon, who are top 25 receivers at USC. My scorchin' pick, prediction number 4. The Nittany Lions will field the best line of scrimmage play in the nation. The number 1 overall O-line, factoring in both depth and only looking at their starters. And this is the prediction that really makes it scorching, because Penn State having the number 1 O-line is a mild. That's a mild prediction for Penn State to just have the number 1 O-line. That same thing with Notre Dame. If you want to say Notre Dame is the number one O-line, that's not even bold at all. Like Joe Rudolph is elite, could be coaching in the NFL there, and would deserve it. My prediction that makes this bold is I think they'll have the number one starting D-line. It's not number one in terms of depth. Georgia is deeper there. Michigan might be deeper there. I'm confident Clemson's deeper there. Oklahoma might. There are teams that are deeper than Penn State in the D-line, and a handful of them. But I think starting D-line wise, Penn State, it's either Penn State or Clemson for the best starting caliber D-line, in my personal opinion. There are other contenders too, like Texas or Georgia, but I view Penn State as the best starting D-line. My hellfire prediction, this is bold, one of my bolder predictions of the year, is that Penn State will be viewed at the end of the year as the best national champion since 2021 Georgia, and the best since 2020 Alabama in terms of strength of record. This team will be better than every team since 2022. That's why I'm picking them to go undefeated, by the way, because I think this will once again be a down year in football. This will be like last season, and it will be like 2021, where at the end of the year, you had a super dominant team emerge. Ohio State, in truth, only emerged at the end of the year, but in the playoffs, it was clear. Yeah, this is a tier and a team of its own, and if they played that way the whole season, they would be viewed historically in a probably better manner. Georgia in 2021, they had that blowout loss to Bama, but that Alabama team was another team in 2021, one of probably three that could have realistically won it all, and Bama was definitely top two. And you had Saban, and you had Bryce Young, so I get why they beat that Georgia team, but they showed in the playoffs, number one. I think Penn State overall is going to be like that 2021 Georgia team, where they are going to own people left and right, and even if they don't have the best coach in the country, and Smart's way better than Franklin, not making that comparison. I'm using that as an analogy to say, even if Ryan Day or Dan Lanning are on the other sidelines, they can do something, and they can try, but they will fail. And Penn State, because of their roster, their experience, senior leadership, and then their coordinators and assistants, they're going to come through, and they're going to win, and they're going to win big. So that is my hellfire prediction right there. This team at the end of the year, in my mind, will be viewed as the best national champion in several years. And people will be talking about them in terms of an achievement, postseason run and regular season record-wise, in the same light as other prior undefeated teams who played tough schedules. So a lot of like the SEC undefeated champions, for example. I am that high on Penn State. I am. And I think that they are a blend of 24 Michigan and 23 Ohio State, or 20, I mixed them up, my apologies. They're a blend of 24 Ohio State and 23 Michigan. And they also, to be fair, blend the best aspects of 23 Ohio State and 24 Michigan. They do. Like 24 Michigan had a better D-line, I think, than 23 Michigan did in terms of starters. And 23 Ohio State had better corners and a better O-line at the end of the year than 24 Ohio State did. They blend the best aspects of the past few Michigan teams and don't take many of their weaknesses. They don't have the weakness Ohio State did last year of some shaky corners and a thin O-line. They do not have the weakness that 23 Michigan did, where they don't have a alien receiver. They don't have that. So that is my Penn State prediction for 2025. Love it, hate it. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching College Football with Sam. Make sure that you've liked the video, subscribed to the channel, hit the notification bell for the channel and team playlists and podcasts in the description, joined the free Discord server where we talk college football 24/7, and have commented your thoughts down below. Check out the description for any ways you can support the channel monetarily. Everything else I've asked you to do is completely free, and your support means the world to me. We're trying to become the next big thing on college football YouTube. 6-figure subscribers, maybe 1 million one day. I think we can do that. And also check out any videos or playlists, anything in these columns right here, where there will be videos and playlists. Yeah, you get the point. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next one.